observational drawing and contour drawing. The lesson objectives are to develop hand-eye coordination while sketching and to develop a sense of proportion and space of shapes, and to draw a variety of objects using observational drawing strategies. What have we learned so far is we need to use light pressure, we call these searching lines, when sketching before committing your lines. To commit your lines, you have to push harder and you get darker lines. But using hard pressure with your pencil right away when you're drawing indents the tooth of the paper and it leaves a permanent mark, and this is more difficult to erase. When we draw, we need to look at the object, whether this is an image, a photo, a resource, whatever it is, when you're sketching. Do not assume what is there. And when you're drawing, we need to notice the position of the lines and the spacing of the shapes. So let's do a little warm-up before we learn about the vocabulary of contour drawing. For your warm-up, you're going to copy the lines that you see here. So we have a series of lines, they go in different directions, and in this space here, you're going to copy what you see. I'm going to draw a little bit of it with you, but notice the spacing, and again, we want to use lighter lines to start. And you decide how you want to start this drawing, but pay attention to the angle of the lines. Of course, you can always fix things with an eraser later on. So I'm just about done here. I was trying to fix up some of my lines and make them look a little more darker, a bit more committed here, and I really need to pay attention to the size of those circles. You'll be copying down vocabulary that's related to observational and contour drawing. So make sure you copy the word, copy the definition, and in this space you're going to create a small drawing that illustrates the word or meaning of the word. And you'll see some photos that might give you an idea of what to draw. Our first word is line. As you can tell, everything we've been drawing starts with a line. What is a line? It's a two-dimensional object that shows length and direction. Line defines a solid mass as an outline. And there's all different types of lines. Something about lines in drawing though. If we just use lines actually prevent an object from looking realistic because it still makes the outline of a shape. In order to make your drawing look realistic, we will have to add value, shading, and we will do that later on. So of course right now we're still just sticking to lines. Observational drawing. What is this? It's drawing by observing a real-life object or reference, focusing on what you see rather than what you remember. And if you end up taking lots of drawing classes later on, you end up doing lots of observational drawing, which means you have an actual object in front of you and you draw what is there. It is better to draw from real life, of course, but sometimes we can't, so sometimes we need a photo reference, such as something on the computer or something that we have printed out. We're doing a lot of contour drawing. So contour is actually French for outline. It's used to describe the boundary of an object without shading. So all these examples here, these are contour drawings. And you can make contour drawings using pencil, pen, paint. You can create contour drawings on an iPad. Contour drawings show the form, but again, there's no shading. These are some artists who use contour drawing in their work. Ellsworth Kelly created lots of drawings of plants. Raphael, he was a Renaissance artist. These are some preliminary drawings he created for his paintings. Henry Moore, he created these scribble drawings, but these are still considered contour line drawings. And Hokusai, he was a Japanese artist who created a lot of wood block prints. And these types of drawings are still considered contour line drawings. Outline. It's a silhouette made of a line that appears two-dimensional. And that is basically how contour drawings start. After you create an outline, you can add details and eventually add shading, as you can see here. And there's all different ways to draw using an outline. Form. An element of design that is three-dimensional and has volume and depth. In drawing and painting, form is an illusion. Now, we're not creating form yet with our work. We're going to do that later with shading. But we are still looking at the form when we're drawing. Like we can see the form, we know the edges. So even when you're just drawing an outline, you still have to pay attention to the three-dimensionality of the object. Proportion, the size, location, and amount of one object to another. Proportion is very important in observational and contour drawing, because if you don't follow the proportion, then your drawing will not look proportional. Parts will look bigger, parts will look smaller. And even when you're drawing something simple, like this vessel here, you still have to pay attention to the proportions of the edges. And when you're drawing the human figure, proportion is key. We all know what it looks like when the human figure does not look proportional. You can even get mathematical when you're drawing something from real life. You can look at the edges. Measuring. Now, this is something you have to practice, and I'll show you later how to do this, but it's to use your pencil to measure for ratios. How you do this is you hold your pencil against an angled line to get an accurate read of the line's position and angle. You literally do this when you're sitting and drawing something. You can see it here, even though they have this sculpture here, and they're actually figuring out where the parts of the body line up just by measuring. Positive space. In a drawing, this is the object, the main subject of interest that draws the viewer's eye. It's the main focus of the artwork. So an easy way to remember positive space is the object. Now, positive space can be any color, it doesn't have to be black or white, right? For example, these objects here are different colors, and then the background just looks dark. Negative space. This is the area surrounding or between objects in an artwork. Now, these two examples really show off the negative space because they make the object white, so we notice the background. But again, negative space and positive space is just how you talk about it. So in this sketch here, right, the teapot, the tomato, the cloth, and the teacup, those are positive space because they're the object. The darkness around it is negative space. But for this example, due to the use of color, the milk looks like positive space. It is positive space. And then the wood is negative space. So don't get too tripped up by the use of color. Positive and negative space is just how we talk about it. My expectations when you're sketching. Remember the 70-30 rule. 70% is looking at your reference, the photo, whatever you're drawing, and 30% is fine-tuning your drawing. So you're looking at your drawing, looking at the reference, looking back and forth. Slow down and notice the lines, the shapes, and edges. Use a consistent line quality. It's better to start with your searching lines before you commit the lines later on. Begin lighter and then darken in your lines afterwards. And don't try to draw everything at once. It is easier to work in sections, plus that helps you maintain the proportion. For your exercises, we're focusing on 3 observational drawing strategies. They are carving from a lump of clay, structural lines and shapes, and breaking the object into basic shapes and forms. So remember, you are creating contour drawings, and we're using observational drawing, which is a method of drawing. It's drawing what you see. It's a realistic portrayal of what's in front of you.